So today we're starting our mini mental health moments. These are mental health conversations and chat, just good crack in the branded mini, thanks to Mini Ireland, where we have mental health advocates, business people, entrepreneurs, influencers, and everyone in between, maybe some customers too, to get in the car, have a chat, and go for a spin. Let's rock. Our first guest for the mini mental health moments is Daragh Fleming, all the way from County Cork. He's a writer, blogger, poet, mental health advocate, and Sea Change brand ambassador. Absolute legend. So let's find out more about him. I would know a good bit about you from listening to podcasts, seeing you on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but obviously I don't know a whole lot about you. It's just what I see online. And I think for like the viewers, we'll start off with the basics of like who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Like, it does feel like we've known each other for ages and we've never met, so it's just that weird
power of social
thing.
media.
I know. So my name's Daragh Fleming, from Cork, living in Cork. But I'm not one of those Cork men that's obsessed with Cork, so that's, you know, I don't want it to be that like cliche, but yeah. The main things I do, I'm an author, poet, run Thoughts Too Big, which is the mental health blog that you know from social media, and I'm also the communications lead for Lust for Life. Well, basically, I like writing, love writing, and I'm very passionate about mental health, so they're my two kind of pillars of my life.
Like, what made you become so passionate about mental health to become a mental health advocate? Like, why didn't you study something else, do a different 9 to 5? Why aren't you doing a trade? Like, why mental health, why writing, why poetry? What has led you to this?
Good question, and I think it comes up a lot in my writing as well, but when I was 17, my best friend took his own life, and that I didn't know that he was suffering. Like, he never mentioned it. Nothing had ever come up, and then all of a sudden he was gone, and that was my introduction to mental health. So my introduction to mental health was like severely traumatic, and I kind of learned that if you have really bad mental health, it can take your life, you know, it can stop you from living. So went through kind of grief, depression in that period for like 4 or 5 years. But so I was 17, I was coming up to the Leaving Cert, and I was kind of like, didn't know what I wanted to do, because I'd never known what I wanted to do, and to a point I still don't. But I was like, I'd love to like do psychology, because it'll help me to like understand what went wrong and hopefully help people to not get to that point. Because there was two kind of components. Like, I didn't want people to die by suicide, but I also don't want people to have to go through bereaving suicide, because it's very, very difficult and traumatic, and it scares you for the rest of your life. So that's why I went into psychology. The writing kind of started after that with the blog, and then I got into short stories, poetry, essays, and like I think the writing is more of like an expression piece. So, like, so poetry is very good for like expressing emotions, which is something like when I was younger, when I was going through depression, it was very difficult for me to express emotions. So I found that's your poetry. And then short fiction is just the pure creativity of creating something. Like, you know yourself, like you might write, but you've created HUH, and like just that feeling of creating something from scratch and it being a brand new thing in the world is like, there's nothing like it, you know. And especially when you have to put it out there for people to like evaluate and say if it's good or bad, like it's quite terrifying. But there's nothing like that feeling. So that's kind of where the love of writing came from. But the mental health stuff was very much from that personal experience of Herbie dying.
So firstly, very sorry to hear that, and like the fact that you went through that with a best friend, or for anyone out there going through it with a best friend, a family member, a sibling, I can't even imagine how that must have been, and the effect it took on your mental health and your well-being. And I think it's really admirable what you've done off the back of it, because I'm going to butcher this stat, but they say like roughly 119 people are affected by a suicide, be it friends, families, and I think it could be even more. But it was just one on top of my head here, and it goes from friends, families, siblings, co-workers, teammates, your town. And obviously in the moment, for someone suffering that way, they can't see any other option. But it does have that massive ripple effect. And with you turning that into poetry, writing, and kind of off the back of something really devastating, you're helping so many others. Because when you're pumping out that work, someone might see it, well, that's actually helping hugely. I feel that way, I've gone through this.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I think one of the most important messages is, you said you didn't know your friend is struggling, and that's something that happens a lot. You don't know until it's too late. And that's one message that I see you constantly pushing, and I just think it's really admirable. And I feel like as individuals, we never step back and like pat ourselves on the back, but like I really love what you do. And if you even open the glove box there, I have one of your books, poems that were written on trains that weren't written on trains, and that's not even that's not even there for the sake of this. Like,
it's just in there.
My friends are looking at it the other day when we were like out for lunch and stuff.
That's brilliant.
I really enjoy like all your work.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm not just saying that because you're here in front of me.
Yeah, I know. No, but I mean, you're very supportive on social media all the time anyway, so I know that. But and I like the thing about like, because I went through a very, very difficult period, but I do appreciate the fact that I turned that pain into something that's like worthwhile and helping other people. Like that does mean a lot to me, and that's not like me being like, oh, I'm f***ing class or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's very much like it could have went a different way, and for a while it was going a different way. Like I was struggling severely with depression, and it was only once I kind of took responsibility for myself and was like, you can't kind of go out the same way, and like turned the corner, started going to counselling, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of in a better place now. I want to like help people not get to this place, and that's kind of like all down to Irby. Like, you know, his for me, his death wasn't in vain, because he's helped people via me, and that's really special for me.
A lot of people won't say it to you, but whether they see your posts on TikTok, Instagram, they read your work, whatever it is, they're like wanting to talk to you, doing a talk today, they're at the talk.
Yeah.
That can have a monumental change in their mental well-being, their thought process, and to realise, okay, well, Daragh has gone through something similar to me, or I'm feeling the same way as so many other people out there, and that's what we try to do, breaking down the barriers to let people know that like they don't do it alone. If you were talking to a friend, what would you try to like implement in their daily or weekly lives that would be beneficial for their mental health?
The mental health routines, like you just need to have a formula of like different things you enjoy doing that help your mental health. And for me, like a lot of them are the same things that help my physical health. So it'll be exercising every day, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, seeing friends 2-3 times a week to get the social endorphins. Like, so I think they're like the 4 fundamental things that everyone has to do for their mental health. And then the other things are like things you enjoy doing. So for me, it's writing, it's reading, it's meditating, and just having that like literally a checklist of every day, like have I drank enough water, have I got enough sleep? Because often I'll go through it and I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling really anxious today, but the last four nights I've only gotten like 5 hours of sleep, so that's
drank half a glass of water.
Exactly, exactly. So then if you correct for those, you're like, now I feel a little bit better like a week later, so you're like, oh, that was probably what was affecting it. And then the other side, if you're nailing everything on your checklist and you're still feeling like there's something wrong, then that's a sign to be like, okay, I need to seek further help, maybe I should go to counselling. And I think it's so easy but super effective. I've been using it for like 2 years and it really, really helped.
Do you have any like personal like bad ones, if you do want to talk about it, or like kind of self-sabotaging, maybe not habits, obviously routines is not the right word, but like things you do where you can, maybe your self-awareness kicks in, like, whoa, I shouldn't be doing that, that's not good for me?
Just spending way too much time on social media, and really like, and I do talk about this a lot, and I feel like people think I'm like talking at them, but it's really like talking to myself. Like I like, so especially like say using Twitter, because as a writer, like Twitter's very like helpful for opportunities and stuff. I was putting way too much value on like follower counts and what people were like saying, and how much interactions I was getting and all this kind of stuff, and it was really like making me very like anxious and bitter. Like, so I'd be like comparing myself to other people, and I'd just be constantly like looking for this validation through social media to get like that quick fix of serotonin, and that happened a lot in the first lockdown. And I can't remember why I became aware of it, but I did, and I deleted it off my phone straight away, and I was like, this is not good for me. I'm not this person I never was. It was just whatever, you know, it was like the perfect storm of like not seeing your friends and nothing going on, and life being really this like monotonous same day every day, that I just became kind of like engorged with it. And I was like, I always thought like in my head that I was very good with social media, but like you can just, anyone can fall into that trap. Absolutely. And once I saw that, I was like, I need to be aware of this all of the time, because it's really bad for your mental health. Like,
it's like when you doom scroll and then you're like, why does that person have a better clothing brand than me? I'm working just as hard. Or why is he a better writer than me? No, I should be that way. And you're just like, relax. Yeah, like even like you never know what someone's going through or what they've done to get to where they've gone to.
Exactly. Like this idea of like, and I think social media sets it up this way that like when you see someone else winning, you're automatically assuming that means you're not. And it's like there's enough for everyone.
What advice would you give your younger self, like 13-year-old Daragh, for life, relationships, family, mental health, whatever it is? But if there was 1 or 2 pieces of advice, like start writing sooner, or I don't know, like practice this to become more self-aware, even though we're quite young at that age, but one piece of advice for your younger self.
Well, it would be to like, there was a long time where I knew I was struggling and I was afraid to open up about it. And I know it's a cliche or whatever, but it is very much like, just tell someone. Because that can be the difference. Like, I mean, that's the reason Herbie took his own life, because he couldn't just tell someone. So, and I think I've said this recently, like if he was alive today, like if it was like the way we are now as a society, and he was struggling, I think he would have opened up, because it's far more normal conversation now.
Yeah.
Which is great to see, like in terms of like how mental health has evolved in this country. But you need to like express your emotions, because I was reluctant to for a long time.
And we all are as well. Like it's not just you, and it's easier said than done when you're if you are to talk to your younger self.
Yeah.
Like in that time, you haven't really a clue what's going on or how you feel or what these feelings are. So, no, I really like that. So if there was anyone younger watching this, it's great for them to hear. And then last but not least, I'm robbing this from the Stephen Bartlett podcast. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Where he gets someone to leave a question for the next guest.
Okay. Does that mean your last guest is going to have like 20 questions?
No, so you're going to have...
But they don't have to answer every question.
Imagine, just in them with 20 questions.
This. So for me, one of my like goofy things that I do for like my mental health is I'm obsessed with Marvel movies. So that allows me to switch my brain off. So what is the unusual thing that really benefits your mental health that mightn't be run of the mill?
Unreal.
That's the question.
So what is like an unusual kind of practice or thing that you do that benefits your mental health?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
that's the question.
Great question.
Thanks.
Right, on that one we're going to end it. That's the first episode of mini mental health moments with Daragh Fleming. Thank you very much again. If there's anything you want to like add in, anything coming up, anything you're selling, anything you're doing, let the people know.
The only thing that's big this year is my debut non-fiction on mental health, Lonely Boys, coming out on November 24th.
Unreal.
It's a book, if that wasn't clear. So yeah, that's coming out. That's the main thing I'd like to plug, and thanks for having me on. It's an honour to be the first guest.
Not a bother. What do you think of the HH Mini, by the way?
It's class.
You have to give that Mini a shout out.
I came into the car, I was like, what is going on in here? Like, this is madness.
He doesn't deserve this.
Yeah. Where's no?
Mini, come on. Where? You need a brand ambassador in Cork.
That's true.
It's very true. Unreal. Right, we'll end it on that. Thanks for watching. If you've watched, thank you very much. Mini, thanks for everything. And Daragh, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure.
On to episode 2.
Let's do it.